Morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, July 1st. Summer's already gone. Close. So when it hits July, it's over. You know what I mean? We wait all year for this, and it comes, and next thing you know, it's October.
It's still June.
It's still June.
Oh, I've got
You're reading-
July 1st on my thing. I've been out of the country, so excuse
You're
me.
reading for Tuesday. You're excited.
Okay. Okay.
It's a different calendar over there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Time zone.
I'll get on the right day. We're here for work session today. And if we could all please rise for the pledge. Dawn, would you mind leading us?
Not at all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so summer's not gone. Summer's still here. All right, first up we have Barry Long and UDA Associates, Alexia Friend, LVF Landscape Architecture, matters surrounding Main Street Streetscape Plan and Presentation, and headed by Dawn Thomas and the CDA and the Planning Department.
Yes, I'll kick it off. This is one of our major projects. This is really an exciting day for us. We've been working through this design as part of the town square process. As you will remember, the town square has several different components. There's the riverfront, the playground, the town square, the amphitheater, the streetscape, and the parking garage. So this is the streetscape piece of the presentation, and this we've been working on literally since 2018. So I'll give you a little bit of a background on that piece of it, just in terms of the public engagement piece and how far we've come since 2018. In 2018, Barry Long and UDA created a pattern book for downtown, and if you've read the pattern book, you'll see there's a whole discussion about the sidewalk and the pedestrian realm, and there was public engagement at that time, and the public had weighed in on what they wanted to see on the sidewalks, and so that was incorporated into the ultimate pattern book. And then in 2020, we moved forward with the initial town square, design concept process, which was all done virtually via Zoom. I know Joanne participated in some of those meetings, and some of the rest of the board members too. That was run by UDA also, and resulted in, we had a website, we had an idea wall, we had posts, and those discussions also included sidewalk discussions and how we make the downtown a more walkable and pedestrian-friendly place. We moved forward from there into the downtown activation plan, which also included discussions about pedestrianizing, making more downtown more pedestrian-friendly, and how we get the more space for outdoor dining, and the amenities area where merchants can put their outdoor wares and things like that. We took it from there to the DRI grant, which was a very deeply engaged public process. That was multiple meetings, public meetings that were recorded. The public could participate. We had a local planning committee comprised of local people, and all weighed in, and ultimately one of the projects that was put forward was a streetscape improvement project for Main Street. That project was awarded $750,000 from the DRI grant, which we've been using to get to this point now. And so we took those concepts and the designs that were sort of put forward through the public process, and now we've actually done a real design for the Main Street, including stormwater management, safety features, shortened crosswalks, narrowed drive lanes, widened sidewalks with dining areas and new signage and new lighting. All of those things that the public said were important to them are now included in these plans. And so we've just about got to the point where it's time for you guys to take a look and see what you think of where we're at. And so we have Barry Long from UDA, who's been overseeing our entire downtown town square process from day one and has been integrally involved with his team, as is Alexia Friend from LVF with Mike Vogel, her partner. They were retained through the RFP that you all processed through to retain a landscape architect firm to do the design for the streetscape. So here we are today, and I'll turn it over to Barry, and he can kick off from there.
Well, thank you, Dawn, and good morning, Supervisor Hubbard and council members. We have a show, and Alexia is going to drive. So when that pops up, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. There we go. Okay. So, as Dawn said, we're here today to provide an update on the Main Street Streetscape project. I'm going to share some context, and then Alexia, managing principal with LVF Landscape Architects, as Dawn said, is going to present the more detailed design. Next.
There's
There we
a,
go.
yes.
There we go. There's a little delay. Yeah. So the project involves the public right-of-way in one block from Roanoke to East Avenue, which is approximately 770 linear feet long. As Dawn said, ideas for improving Main Street are not new. The downtown pattern book features recommendations based on input from residents and from stakeholders. Next. About 90% of respondents to the pattern book survey that we did while we were working on the pattern book indicated that improving Main Street's appearance and enhancing the pedestrian experience were important. And over 80% of respondents also asked for increased lighting. As you know, downtown is an historic district, so the distance we have to work with is often fixed. We did collaborate with Petrocelli to slide the hotel, the proposed hotel next to the town square, back a little to get that in the right place, but that really is the exception. And this pattern book illustration that you can see here shows that in all cases, the idea is to create activity zones in front of the storefronts rather than just having one kind of generic concrete sidewalk. Next. And this illustration of the new proposal, which is taken in front of the former Woolworths building, shows the envisioned beautification, enhanced pedestrian experience, and additional lighting. And I'd like to pass it to Alexia now for a more detailed presentation of the design.
Thank you, Barry. What we've done is really built on the parameters that UDA set forth, which were based on feedback from the community. And we also looked locally at which other towns had successful examples of enhanced pedestrian experiences in their downtown cores. And one of those being Greenport, where parking along one side of the road was eliminated in order to create shorter crosswalks. Also, that is also Route 25, so there are a lot of similarities there, and being that Main Street is Route 25 as well, and it has to be beholden to the New York State DOT guidelines. And then, of course, West Hampton Beach, which has done a really successful job at creating lush planting, shortened crosswalks, general amenity improvements. I'll go to the next slide. Amenity improvements from 2018, which is the photo on the bottom, up to 2024, which is the current condition. You can see, I'll hover over here, where there are landscape bump outs with beautiful planting. There are bench seating outside storefronts and amenity zones, and just a generally pleasant experience. I think we can all agree upon that. And so today we're here to focus on the East Main Street streetscape improvements. And while that is the case, this was all considered within the context of the larger downtown revitalization improvements being made in Riverhead. And again, the focus is really to improve the pedestrian experience along Main Street. And so in doing that, we've extended certain areas of the sidewalk further into Main Street to reduce the roadway widths, which will encourage cars to drive more slowly. It will allow for safer pedestrian crossings, lets people stand out in front of parked cars so they can see past in order to get across the street. And in particular, at the Suffolk Theater, where the new town square is going to be, we're introducing a hawk signal there to increase pedestrian safety. As part of that, there will also be new street tree plantings for shade, and as you will see in this image, fixed amenity zones, meaning benches and tables and chairs for folks to sit along the curb and sidewalk, but then also spaces, as was described in the pattern book, along storefronts for store owners to put out movable tables and chairs, signage, and other amenities related to their particular storefronts. As part of these improvements, we've been talking to PSE&G as well as the internet providers to bury infrastructure, overhead lines from East Avenue down to that unnamed driveway near the diner. And so that'll both make electrical service more reliable, and it will reduce conflicts between street trees and overhead wires, as you can see in the top image. We've also increased the number of street lighting, street poles, so we're maintaining the historic street pole that is already in downtown Riverhead, and we're adding to it with more quantity, which was, again, was a request from the community to increase lighting and perception of safety. There is a lot of parking proximate to Main Street. So we all know that there's a proposed 500 parking garage north of Main Street that is slated for design and construction. There's also the town hall parking lot, which allows for 280 spaces near to Main Street. And we've been working with the town's parking specialist, Kevin Wood, on identifying drop-off locations for short-term parking, as well as those who may need to, for accessibility reasons, may need to be physically closer to the storefronts. But the whole purpose of this is to encourage folks to park not on Main Street and then come to the downtown core. And here's a side-by-side of West Hampton Beach on the left-hand side and their improvements, and you can see on the right-hand side the proposed improvements in Riverhead. And I personally think that it'll be quite enjoyable. It'll really enliven the streetscape to make it a place where folks want to walk and stay. And this is our last slide, at which point I'll turn it back over to Dawn. This is a view standing over at East Avenue, looking westbound back towards Peconic. And I do want to point out, in case this question comes up, there is a shoulder that will allow cyclists on Main Street, but it is not a bike lane. The bike lane will remain on Heidi Bear Way, which has always been the plan to connect it into the larger Suffolk County Greenway, but we do allow for bike racks for bikes that will dismount and then walk along Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So just adding that the current width of Main Street makes it a little bit of a raceway, and I don't know if you've tried to cross in front of the Suffolk Theater. You're popping out in between cars. You have to be very careful. Cars are going very rapidly, and if you come out from the parked car, so the way the improvements will work is that there's a pedestrian bump out, so you're beyond the parked car so people can see you. The crosswalk is shortened. The roadway is narrowed, which will force people to drive slowly, which will be good for the merchants and good for pedestrians and safety. And I think that's pretty much it.
This will be put up online later today?
Yes, and I have copies
Okay.
For everyone.
Good.
That's good.
Yeah,
Can I ask a question?
of course.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions. One is, and I had brought this up, Barry, I don't know if you were on the call when I brought this up, but in West Hampton, their speed bumps are plowable. They were engineered so that the plow can go right over those, so I would encourage that we look at those. That's one. My second question is, did you consider, instead of, I don't know what your FAR is right now on the buildings. Is it 95% on either side, the build out for the buildings?
Oh, he got popped off.
Oh, Barry's not there.
I don't see him.
We need Barry back.
Sorry, can
Yes, Barry.
Okay.
you hear me, Councilmember?
Yes.
It's Councilmember
Yes.
Kern, is that who's speaking? Because I can't see. As far as in this block of Main Street, most of the buildings now are either, I want to say are brand new or being built. The hotel is the only one that's proposed, and the rest are historic to stay. So the percentage build out outside the right of way, like for example, when we were working with Petroselli, we just looked at the sidewalk width and agreed that it would be better if he had a couple more feet in front of it for the streetscape and for his project. So they slid the hotel back a little bit. But this area is largely, especially this block, existing buildings to remain. There's not, in the foreseeable future, a high percentage of new development proposed.
I would also add that that section of East Main Street is on the National Register for the street wall. There are some buildings that are considered contributing to that piece of it, some are not. But the street wall itself, which is what is the architectural feature that the SHPO, recommended become part of the National Register, was in fact added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2012. So the ability to actually relocate buildings unless they're completely rebuilt, but very difficult to it took us, I think, Barry, you'll remember, probably almost a year and probably hundreds and hundreds of pages and affidavits to get SHPO to allow us to remove the buildings that we did. So it's a very difficult process. It's not a simple thing. And also, they're there. They are part of our historic fabric of our district. And so, we probably don't want to do that unless it's absolutely necessary, as it was in the case of the ones that we did remove. But other than that, not really practical to change that footprint.
So back to the way the speed bumps are engineered in West Hampton, which I would request that maybe LBF, reach out to West Hampton and get the specs on that, because they are plowable. I looked into that. How many spaces are we going to lose on Main Street?
Can we just answer that one, Council? I just don't want to lose that comment. But one thing about the Main Street in West Hampton is that it's not
State road.
Yeah, it's not state
it's
highway.
not a state road, but we can definitely get an answer to your question on that. But it's not a state road, so there is that difference. And LVF has been working with New York State DOT on the design.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have had opinions which have been incorporated. So
So how many parking spaces will we lose with this plan, approximately?
About 11, I think.
Approximately 11 spaces.
Okay. Because I did check with the police chief, and I asked him how many speeding tickets have been given on Main Street. He looked at me and laughed.
Did you ask him how many parking tickets have been
No,
given on Main Street?
well, no, I did not, but there was a safety concern, so I wanted to address that, as primary. Okay.
So I just have some basic questions. The project, I will say, in West Hampton is absolutely beautiful. I mean, they did a phenomenal job, but I know that they covered like all grounds. So like the stores and so forth were shut down for a period of time, access was very limited. But they did a complete overhaul, meaning they replaced, sewer lines, septic lines,
They had
power
to do
lines.
that, I
and so.
believe, because they put sewer in.
So does that, are we approaching it in the same fashion? Like, are we replacing, like, why we're basically tearing up all the Main Street and sidewalks? Are we replacing infrastructure for like long-term?
Yes.
So like, what's included, like, really in this overall project in terms of infrastructure?
So all
Restoration.
the power lines go under. We're working with our IT department, Chip, and
All the fiber and everything's going down
putting
below.
fiber in there for a very long time. 24 strands of fiber go in. Coming over from East Avenue, we work with Heatherwood to make sure that all connected up with them. So it's been a very collaborative process to make sure that everything is there. Whatever water, there's the water infrastructure is in the roadway. The roadway itself won't be ripped up the way it was in West Hampton because the sewer lines exist there. We already have them. They didn't exist there. We have them here. So the water and sewer is already under the asphalt. The sidewalks will just be built out. So logistically, how we handle, that construction piece and to keep the businesses afloat and not disturbed is a logistics thing that we have to continue to work on. Perhaps we'll do one side and then the other. We're not really 100% sure how that lays out yet, but for sure, the last thing we want to do is disturb any existing businesses. We know how hard they work as it is, and our job is to make sure that they continue to exist and then thrive once these, revitalization projects are completed.
So just, envision when this is concluded, it looks magnificent. I just want to make sure then that 2 years from now, we're not like carving out down on Route 25 right through Main Street to replace water lines and things like
Yeah.
that. So I just don't know if we're like looking at like how, I guess my main concern would be the water lines and the aged and their replacement. And so do we have any funding or any time to do that now while we're basically under full construction now?
Yeah, everything's been discussed, so if there's water lines that Frank needs to replace or sewer lines that need to be replaced, that will be a part of it, you know, prior to asphalting again, but that was
Okay.
our number one concern. We don't want to rip it up 5 years from now to put more fiber in, so
Yeah.
Chip really sized it for a very long time and, you know, to make sure that everything is there and getting that power and the cable and the fiber optic stuff, you know, squared away.
What role in the revitalization here will the DOT play? So like, are they handing over all control and maintenance of Route 25 to the town? Are they going to help like restore it, pave it like after, you know, like our design is completed and the curbing is in essentially? Like what will be the state's role in this project?
So currently, we do maintain all the sidewalks, and through a New York State permit from the DOT, they plow the roadway. If we need a permit for this from them, and part of the criteria that they have listed in their permit is that we take over the plowing of that area, so we have to discuss how we're gonna handle that, but it is a criteria, and it's really just very consistent. They do this anywhere, you know, that the downtowns want to improve those main street areas that are in fact state roads, but, you know, they've been involved in this process. They have issued us a letter just reviewing the plans. They, you know, have a list of things that we've handled. That is one of the things that we have yet to handle.
Does the state maintain like Greenport, do we know, or did they give that up to the
You have
village?
to, whenever you do this, you have to take it over.
So Greenport Village does it all?
Yeah. Good news is it's not a huge length of roadway. It's only 700 feet, so.
So, yeah, but I want to, if I can just follow up on Ken's point. So we're doing a portion of the state road. So are they going to plow to that portion and then it's up to us? Is that how that works? Or do we have to plow the entire Main Street, you know, from Roanoke to East?
As I
Avenue?
understand it, the section that we've improved is the section that we maintain. The rest of it would be theirs. So East Avenue, east. We're not taking over 25 to Greenport or anything like that.
Okay.
Roanoke to East Avenue.
Yeah,
Trying to get proximity to the theater, so.
that's right. The theater is included in this area.
Yeah, no, that's good, because that brings me back to my question about putting these speed bumps in that are plowable even for us. You know, if the state is giving that, if we're responsible for that, would that give us the ability to put the speed bumps in that we want to put in?
I don't think so.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Can
but
we
my
get an answer?
understanding, Bob,
Like,
is like
you
you're
know,
still bound by whatever the state's requirements are.
Yeah.
So it's still a state highway. They're still going to tell you what you can or
Could we
cannot
ask the
do.
question to the
Yeah,
state?
absolutely, yeah.
Because it would help us
I think it's
in our
I think
plowing
it's been,
efforts.
Yeah, I think it's been asked, but we can certainly clarify.
Yeah, the original discussion was to have a
a
table,
tabletop.
a tabletop
Similar-
crossing
yeah.
at the theater,
And they said
nice
no.
pavers.
and they were not allowing that.
Right, but I don't know if they're aware of the engineering that was done in West Hampton. That's all I'm saying. I would
I think it
advise
was a
to.
similar. I think it was a similar design. I know the crosswalk
That you
you're
could
talking
plow
about.
over it?
Yeah, I think it was very similar, and they still said no.
I think it might also have to do with the size.
We can
of the
check, though.
DOT
Yeah, it's an
trucks.
easy thing to.
Yeah,
We'd be
thank
happy
you.
to check.
Appreciate
And
that.
just also so you're aware, the signage that goes on Main Street, the signage that's there now, that's all dictated by DOT, and it will continue to be dictated by DOT. So they are, the crossing with the flashing lights that'll be motion activated at the Suffolk Theater, they set the parameters for how that works and whether you can have it or not even. And so I think we're fortunate to have been given the ability to do that there. It's a very important crosswalk. Right now, in my opinion, it's a very dangerous crosswalk. Joe and I almost got nailed 2 days ago taking pictures for our grant application, and people don't stop when you're in the crosswalk. They just don't. And so this will force that to happen. They will know that there will be no question that A, this is a pedestrian area, B, that when someone's in that crosswalk, there's going to be, if they miss it somehow, they're going to wind up getting a ticket.
Does some of the parking, I'm sorry, I didn't want to talk over you.
Go ahead.
Does some of the parking anticipate like Uber pickups or any of that? I wanted to ask you about that.
So when we're working with Kevin Wood, Denise and I and the Parking District Committee are working with Kevin Wood, our consultant, Parking Mobility, which has been going fantastically. The entirety of Main Street would be 15-minute free parking. So anybody who needs to drop someone off, pick up a Uber Eats, drop off a taxi passenger, if you have someone who's mobility limited, those will be available for free at all times for at least 15 minutes. So that's the initial, and then there'll be regulations in terms of timing. There'll be probably which currently 1 hour on Main Street, and then the balance of those parking lots will be, timed accordingly so that people that are going to be there longer park further away, and we get better turnover for the merchants closer to those businesses. The other component of this that we didn't talk about is the alleyways. The alleyways that come down from the parking lot, the First Street parking lot on the north side of Main Street, we're working on grants now to be artistically lit with motion sensor lighting and, made to be very clearly pedestrian access points so that people feel comfortable. When the parking garage is constructed, it'll be a street, it'll look like a street again. First Street will be recreated. There'll be signage and lighting. Kevin Woods also brought up the idea of having parking ambassadors, so people standing in parking lots during certain times of the day to make sure people, A, know where to go. So similar to TCOs, but a little bit of a different function, with a Riverhead uniform, know where to go, feel safe, feel comfortable, and if they have any questions about how to use the parking system that we're going to implement, they can answer those questions and give people, the information that they need to get. Until we get really, really established, I think, and maybe we continue it depending, but that's something that we've discussed versus, other methods of enforcement, just really getting people to, to partner with us on how to make it work
To
downtown.
teach them, so that they're
Yes.
not standing at the station.
Yeah,
going,
like, how do I do
it?"
this, right, all of that. Yeah, so those are all things that are under discussion and are moving in the funnel direction towards a start date. We got good information on our raise grant yesterday from the federal government. We expect a contract within about 60 days, which would give us the okay to move this forward. The blessing of this is that during the time that we've been working on this, all of us, we had the $750,000 from DRI to do the design with LVF and Barry. And so that piece of it is ready to be constructed. Soon we could have bid documents and go to bid on that job. We have a lot more work to do before we do that, but that's how close we are. And there's $10 million in the raise grant to do this work, and so, it's happening.
How does the future development from, so this project, it looks great, so excellent work, but just the question is, so once we get west of Roanoke, how do we address, or in what portion eventually do we get to Railroad Plaza? How does it all come together in the long term?
The raise grant has pedestrian improvements for Griffin Avenue and Ostrander Avenue, similar to what we're doing on Main Street, which would be help people that once the TOD gets redeveloped, to get them from there to Main Street so that it looks like a clear pathway, it looks welcoming, it's very clear where you need to go to get to downtown, what is downtown. There'll be new landscaping, the sidewalks will be widened. Also, that landscaping will double as stormwater mitigation so that some of the flooding is, the Army Corps, when they did their study in 2020, identified that a lot of the flooding in downtown is due to the way downtown drains. And so catching some of that water before it gets to those parking lots will be helpful in reducing that flooding that, gets exacerbated by the stormwater or vice versa. So those streetscapes will be done also, and then it's just a matter of us continuing to look for what's next and apply. This is the core piece.
So is it like a two-phase thing, right now, the phase one, we can, just trying to explain it, from Roanoke going east, and then a phase two would eventually be from the Railroad Plaza to come back to basically.
On Main Street, and
Yeah,
so
to
on 25, yeah, and so that would be another study, and that's how we would work on that. We would either get a study from, there's a study money available from the federal government through federal DOT. They've been kind of asking us to apply, but right now we have our hands full with what we're doing, so eventually the goal would be to move both east and west, because when you stand at East Avenue and you look east, you see there's giant utility poles and a ton of wires, and it's just a visual blight. And to get those sidewalks and those businesses really kind of drawn into the downtown, same on the west side. But right now, we're gonna kind of like stick with what we got funded for and move forward. And then, once we prove success in these things, which we've been doing all the while, that getting the funding is easier. And so, you know, we'll just continue to apply and see what we can do.
Okay. I have a question. So I believe that was Mr. Long that mentioned activity zones in front of the storefronts, which I would think maybe in front of restaurants, that's about having dining outside. What will be available for the other storefronts that don't offer dining?
I'll let Barry pick that one up.
Yeah, that's a great question. The idea of the activity zones, you can reference it in the pattern book, there's a diagram, but great main streets have what we call a marketing zone right outside the shop fronts, where they can put in planters, they could put sandwich signs, they can have cafe tables, but it should be a zone that's animated to help bring the main street to life. Then we have the clear pedestrian zone, where we need to keep it open for people to move. And then next to the street, we have what we call an amenity zone, which is what Alexia and those illustrations show a lot of, where we want to green it up. We have some seating, we have bike racks, we have more lighting. And the idea there is to create a buffer, especially since you're on a state road here. So we're enlivening and activating the main street, but what it does is it provides an opportunity for more of the storefronts to animate what's directly in front of them. And you do have some good, even when we're working on the pattern book, we observed some good examples on Main Street already. When you walk down in the summertime, you can see some of the storefronts have things outside, but what we really want to encourage is anybody who would be willing to do that, to animate that zone.
That's great.
For years, we prohibited sandwich board signs, I'm not sure why, but the enlivenment and the life that you bring to Main Street with these zones is what you really want to see. You want people to be engaged with those businesses. You want the businesses to be able to entice people to come in, to have that outdoor seating if it's needed, and all of this provides for that, which is great. And the beauty of it all is we had a very wide Main Street. I think it's 111 or 117 feet wide at its widest, way too wide. We can narrow it down, add this exact dimensions we need to these sidewalks, and not really lose anything important on the roadway, the traveled surface.
So I'd just like to go back for a second. Matt, can you engage with Highway maybe a little bit on how West Hampton did their speed bumps? And
Yeah,
the
I mean,
state?
we'll speak with LBF, it's gonna be
Okay.
through with the
And
state.
B&G,
Yeah.
because obviously,
Well, the state's still gonna have to bless it, so.
I understand that.
That's good. That'll be the first
completely.
question that we ask.
I understand and appreciate that. I saw the parking garage. Is there, I don't know what the plan for the parking garage is. Is that just a placeholder, or is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so we don't know how high it's gonna be yet or anything
Well,
else like
we've
that?
sized it according to the parking study that we did with Jerry Giosa, so that came out to 504 based on what that study suggested, and that was how we priced it. And then since then, we've added this town hall parking lot, so that even made the public parking, inventory larger. So the goal is to get people to, park once and walk. And, if you have something short-term to do downtown, you'll have the ability to do that. But if you're gonna come downtown and pick something up, you're gonna park or you're gonna have dinner, or you're gonna have lunch, you're gonna park a little bit further away in those lots, use those access ways, and then you're gonna, hit Main Street and be walking.
On a nice day, I agree with that. But when I look at the amount of units we're putting in downtown, right, and only 504 spaces, if there's something going on at the Suffolk Theater, if there's an event going on downtown, and you have an apartment downtown, and now you have to park up here, that
But
concerns
I would
me,
just
but.
point out that most of the existing apartments have their own parking. There are a few that don't. But one of the things that we talked about, and it was recommended in the original parking study, was payment in lieu of parking. So people who are
Okay.
building residential units should be required to pay per space for their residential tenants, not the commercial tenants, because they're in the parking district. But that would go into the construction of additional parking, maybe proximate to those places. You know, most of the people that are building apartments recognize the need for people to have proximate parking and are installing that themselves voluntarily. But I think in the future, we're going to be looking at a paid parking system and the need to maybe increase, hopefully the need to increase the number of parking stalls we have. In addition, the garage has the potential for adding
That was my next question.
layers to it. So depending on how we construct it, we can, it's basically like a Lego set or an erector set where you can add another layer to it. So the footprint is a good spot because it's kind of tucked in. I'm not, you know, a lot of people know, a lot of people don't, but that first street where it connects with Roanoke was actually a first street, and it was populated with residences north and south. And when the town took it over, which was great that we did because we have control over that land now, those residences were demolished. When we put that garage back there, we recreate that streetscape again and make it look like a place where you can be and where you can walk, and that feels safe and comfortable. So, and that garage will also have a police substation built into it. So those things are all designed to assist with those that perceive it as not safe, or even people who are just being around late at night. People are leaving work, when a restaurant closes 11 or 12, and have to walk to their car.
I just want to, I'm sorry.
I was just good, just on the same topic, any retail with, eventually, I know we might be getting off track with the parking garage, but just like, it would be like coffee shops, Dunkin' Donuts or something in the parking garage
So
itself?
I think right now we have to, really focus on getting the Main Street businesses hyped up and filled up, because that's we don't want to over retail stuff, but there is potential for the town. There is additional property. Barry's kind of worked on it when we did the original downtown activation plan to leverage more parking area for additional either retail or residential or food and beverage. So those things are potentially, able to be. Just right now, we want to just make sure that that downtown core is successful.
I was just going to say the benefit of the modular multi-deck system is it goes up quickly.
Yes,
And you can add.
yes.
And it's much less intrusive in terms of building from the ground up.
Yeah, I think they told us 1 year,
Yeah.
from design. So
So the construction mess, debris, and staging and all of that is
Yes.
much less. Just like RVAC, they're doing modulars, right?
Yes.
So that's a great system.
once that raised grant gets contracted, we'll be able to start that the real design process. We did preliminary, so we did ground penetrating radar, we did core borings, we did studies on sizing, right sizing, and things like that. But once we get that funding, we'll be able to engage in the real final design. So whatever goes in it, what it looks like, whether we do modular or we do cast in place, those are decisions the board will have to make dependent upon the benefits and, positives and negatives of each one. There are positive and negatives to each one, but, that's coming shortly. So, the good news is that it could be done super quick.
Do we have I know you said coming soon, but do we have like a time frame? So we're all anxious, you're doing great work, so when's the shovel going in?
I mean, technically, the Town Square project started when we created the space for the soil that we're taking from the Heatherwood project. That parking lot's been removed and fenced off. The parking garage piece will really depend on when we get that contract. And then we think it'll take a little bit to design that garage. It's going to take some more public engagement, some more stakeholder engagement to, make sure that it's right for us. And once it's designed and we have construction drawings, which we'll have the money to do, then you guys can bid it and build it. And so I would say if they are right, because there's things at the federal level that are a little unsure about right now, time-wise. It's not exactly the way it was before. They said, 30 to 60 days turnaround until we get. Chris worked on it yesterday. I mean, Chris and Frank have been turning this stuff back over like instantaneously so that we keep that process going. I think she said 30 to 60,
30
right?
to 60, and then it's 48 hours from that where they can execute it, so it's quick.
Yeah, which is really nice, because sometimes the time to sign the contract takes a very long time, but in this case, it's super quick. So we got that email yesterday morning, we're pretty excited about it. And I think if we haven't already turned it back over, we're gonna do that today. And so hopefully within the next 60 days, we get the contract, and then we'll start on, formally designing, getting a designer, getting all of that done.
And that's when the fun begins.
Yeah.
All your hard work is going to start to pay off.
Yeah, it's going to be a little hairy, I think, for a while, but if we're working together and we're continuing to talk, the BERGMAN, the chamber, the downtown businesses, working together with the Parking District Advisory Committee and everybody else, we can make the very best of it.
I can tell you firsthand, we walk West Hampton all the time. We have a business down there, and it's just, it works. Like,
pleasant.
It's really nice, and it works very, very well,
Yeah.
so.
I don't know if it's premature to mention it, but there's something that the chamber was looking for us to do that I think would be very helpful while all this construction is going on Main Street, a shuttle system. They mentioned a couple of different options that we're looking into, where people will park a little further back and the shuttle will take you down to Main Street. So you don't have to worry about where am I going to park for the business, for people, clients or patrons to go into their businesses.
And it
That's
can
something
run,
we're
it can run
looking
on a
into.
schedule, or it can
Yes.
run on demand, all of those things. The nice part about the town hall parking lot is the spaces are nice and wide, they're lit, there's cameras, it's a very safe feeling place. People can park here, grab a shuttle, go wherever they want, and then get dropped back off at their vehicle. So those are the kinds of discussions we've been having.
Right, to help during the construction.
Yes.
I actually have some information on that, Denise, that I'll share with you.
Okay, good. Thank you.
In Southampton Village did free rides, and it's like, so they go around to the different parking lots up at the railroad station, they pick people up, but it's kind of neat when you get in the vehicle, it's all free, but there's a TV monitor right in front of you, so restaurants can advertise what their specials are today,
Yeah.
and this and that, and everything out there, and so people are like, oh, we gotta go over there now. So it works out well.
Yeah.
And it's no cost to the taxpayers, it's an independent company that's basically selling advertising space, but they're providing a service downtown,
Yes,
so it's great for
that would be
everybody.
the goal.
Yes.
Free. It's free, it's for me.
So, so I think unless there's any other questions, I think we're done.
I'm excited.
Yeah, very exciting. I
job,
think the
all
renderings
of you.
really are, help understand the way it can look. You can look at plans and two-dimensional things, but when you actually see the drawings that Jeffrey Schweiger's done through Barry's firm, it gives life. You're like, okay, this is exciting now.
And we get copies of that.
Yes.
All right.
God.
We ordered the
I didn't want to
shovels, the
distract you with the presentation while we were making it.
Well, it's a beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
work. It's great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling
Thank you.
the highway. Just let me know how that goes. Thanks.
Go get to work.
Oh, this one, right, we'll keep that one.
Excellent.
They have for the trust if they want. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, go on. Okay. All right, at this point in time, we are going to go up and go into executive session to, this will be for matters surrounding contractual agreement for the sale of real property. And we're going to go up into executive session for that, have that discussion. We have people that are on a time schedule today, and then we will come back down here as soon as we're done with that. We know we have to be here at least by 11 we have the girls' championship softball team.
High school softball.
High school, and a couple ladies from the golf team that went to the States, and they're coming back. We have some certificates for them. So we're gonna go up and go to executive session now, and then we'll be back by 11 o'clock,
Right.
if not before.
We'll continue with the other open items at that point,
Correct,
after the awards.
right. Okay. To executive
So
session.
moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we'll go up to executive session and we'll be back.
Well,
Welcome, everybody. We're back from executive session. We are now back, we're going to open up the open session, and we have two really special things going on that we're going to take care of first. Councilwoman Waski and myself are both graduates of Riverhead High School, and we were Blue Wave athletes, so it's extra special for us what we're about to do here. We are highlighting a season for the girls' golf team that was an incredible season. It was history-making. There are two girls on the girls' golf team that actually went to the States. 2025 was the single most winning season in Riverhead High School history. The two girls that went, Madison Marshock and Angelina Gust, finished in the top 9 in Suffolk County, finishing 7th and 3rd respectively. Top 9 golfers from every county in New York State qualify for the New York State Championship. First time ever Riverhead sent athletes to the New York State Championship, and they sent 2 in the same year. Even more incredible is Madison is a freshman, and from what I understand, she's been playing on varsity golf since middle school. And Angelina is a senior. She finished 65th in the state, and Madison tied for 59th in the state. Head coach Steve Faea, there you are. He put the Riverhead girls golf team on the map, and that's quite an accomplishment. And we are so proud as the town board to recognize the student athletes that Riverhead High School puts forward, and the hard work and determination that these girls endure to get to the level that they're at. It's anybody who plays golf know that it's an extremely frustrating game. You have that one great shot, you're in love with the sport, and then you go up and hit the ball the next time into the woods and you're throwing your clubs. Did I say that?
no,
Oh,
no.
okay. Very frustrating, and a lot of time goes into the game of golf to get better. And it's time consuming. I mean, to go out and play 18 holes of golf today is, it's 5 hours. So kudos to these two young ladies and all that they did for the town of Riverhead, putting us on the map, and for Riverhead High School, for the Blue Wave sports community. I would like to call both of you up here now. Madison and Angelina, if you could come on up. Yeah, Coach too. Coach Faye, come on up. I'm going to read, on behalf of the Riverhead Town Board, congratulations.
Thank you.
And the residents of the town of Riverhead, I present this certificate of accomplishment to Madison Marshock and Angelina Gust, correct? Yes. In recognition of their outstanding performance through the 2025 golf season, under the leadership of head coach Steve Faea, Madison and teammate Angelina made history for the first ever girls from Riverhead High School to finish in the top 9 in Suffolk County and qualify for the state championships. Really appreciate what you did. Congratulations. I hope you continue to play and practice and get better. Not that you need to get a lot better, because from what it appears, you're doing pretty good yourselves. So, all right, Coach, we're going to give you this. Thank you. Madison,
Thank you.
give you that. Angelina will present you with that. Everybody would turn this way. I would like to also add that Madison's mom is one of our favorite employees here, Dion.
Just one more, guys.
And we know she's very proud of her too. So, congratulations, ladies. Keep up the good work. And keep your endeavors on the floor. Okay.
I'd just like to add that they just got back from Pulaski Street where they were working with the students there on the golf and talking about the program and the sport in general.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good. Okay, next up, we have members of the Riverhead Blue Waves girls varsity softball team here. And the reason they're here is they had their single most winning season ever in the history of Riverhead High School. 20 wins and 4 losses. They won the Suffolk County Championship. They won the bid to the Long Island Championship. 16 athletes with unmatched athleticism, work ethic, and passion. The coaching staff, head coach Richie Velacci. We have assistant coach Caitlin Devini and assistant coach Forrest Vale. Under their leadership, these girls put out the best season ever in the history of Riverhead High School. Outstanding performance by all. Class AAA Long Island Championship. They went on to play Massapequa, who's a huge powerhouse in girls softball, and they lost in the final. They lost the game by a score of 2-1. Heartbreaking, I'm sure, but with all the accomplishments that they made this season, and these girls, the names I'm going to read in a minute, their names you'll recognize from our Riverhead Little League program. They came up, they played together, and I'm sure most of them, if not all of them, played travel ball across the Northeast, not just like in Suffolk County. They go all over the place to play. And it certainly paid off. So at this point in time, I'm going to read your names, and then we'll have you come up. We have certificates for you also. On the softball roster, we have Shaylee Bealey, Isabel Dandria, Maddie Dupre, Amber Ferrugia, Emma Freeborn, Morgan Gajowski, Eden Greenwood, Jordan Quasner, Braden McLeod, Maya Morelli, Adriana Martinez, Ashley Rogers, Madison Saladino, Elena Schreiber, Olivia Solzer, and Sophia Viola. And again, head coach Richie Velacci. Richie himself went through the Little League program, if I'm not mistaken, many years, well, not many years, but a few years back. He was a member of the baseball community in Riverhead. And assistant coach Caitlin Devini and assistant coach Forrest Vale. If you would all please come on up now.
Supervisor, maybe Coach Velacci would like to say something about his...
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
They come
Coach, you want to come up and say something about the girls and the team? We'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's great. I always love to talk about this group. Yeah, so first off, thank you guys for having us here. This is incredible. And to really give back to this community has always been something that I've wanted to do. As you just alluded, I grew up here. I played through Riverhead Little League. Actually, Coach Viola was my baseball coach here when I was in high school. So I love seeing things come full circle. This group of girls has been incredible to teach and to coach and to be around. It's one of those where when the season ended, it kind of just, I don't know, things just felt like, oh, we're not going back to keep this going, because wins and losses aside, it was a great group to be around. One thing I really have honed in on with this year is this group has given back to the youth of this community. I've had so many parents come to me that have Little Leaguers that say they look up to your girls like they're superheroes. And I was fortunate to see that this year, as my daughter is 7 years old, and she comes to every game, and when we're in the backyard, she pretends to be each and every one of them, whether it's mocking the way that they play the game or to say, "Daddy, did you see that? I did that just like so-and-so." And, I couldn't thank this group enough, not just for the success, but just for the impact they have. And when you give back, especially to the youth, that's something that's going to be, carrying with those girls forever. When they're my age and they hopefully are up here talking about what they've accomplished, it's because of them that this community is now starting to bring back the amazingness of especially the quoting of Bleeding Blue. I love that. I'm trying to bring that back with this group, and I couldn't thank these girls enough. And I know not all of them are here today because they all, as you said, they're doing so many different things. But girls, it's been an amazing ride to be on this year, and I can't thank them enough. And thank you guys for having us here.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome.
Thank you for all you've done for Riverhead. Hey, yeah, everybody come on, all the players come on up and coaches.
Also, 2 8th graders on this team. That's also
wow.
Really? Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. You guys going first? Come on.
Don't be shy, don't be bashful. You're all on TV, but don't worry. Come on up and just stand here, and I'm going to give the coach the certificate.
Yeah, of course, I'll hand them out to them.
Okay, on behalf of the town board and the residents of the town of Riverhead, we present this certificate of accomplishment to the Riverhead High School varsity softball team in recognition of them achieving the most winning season in Riverhead softball history. Their combined athleticism, work ethic, and passion for the game of softball contributed to the overall success of the season, which, under the leadership of coaches Valachi, Divini, and Vale, made history as the first team in Riverhead softball to clinch the Suffolk County Championship and advance to the Long Island Championship. All of the athletes comprising of the 2025 Riverhead High School varsity softball team are to be commended for their achievements and for the immeasurable impact of the 2025 season that will have on the future of the Riverhead varsity softball program. So you set the standards now. So, Coach, we don't expect anything less than winning the Long Island Championship next year.
Hey, hopefully we're there.
How many seniors are you graduating now?
5 seniors.
5 seniors.
Out of the 16, so we have 11.
So you got a
returning.
good core coming back.
Yes.
Great. And you got some young
Yeah.
8th graders. That's awesome. Well, congratulations. You
Our
made
JV,
Riverhead
our JV
proud.
team also finished first in the league, so
Oh, that's
nice young
excellent.
group. And the middle school team went undefeated.
Wow.
Very good.
So
So Riverhead Little League's doing something right.
they're doing a great job.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Congratulations to those of you who are graduating. Best of luck to you in your college career or your work career, whatever you choose to do. And hopefully we'll see you back here again next year
Yeah.
after you come back with a championship.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you for having us.
Congratulations. Those are for the coaches.
Yes.
And those are for girls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Great
it.
seeing you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, girls, you want to come up? I'm sorry, we'll grab a picture with you. Well, we dismissed you a little prematurely.
Did you want to line in front, you want us behind them or something?
Yeah, you want to line up in front, ladies?
Oh,
Right across here,
okay.
face that way.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Coach, do you want to come up and say something about your team? I'm sorry, I missed that. Excellent.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
So yeah, golf's a unique sport for a bunch of reasons you already pointed out, and a few others. You can progress as a team and individually. Well, the team really did have a great year. The team season will end, and then individuals, if they qualify, they continue. And there's no classes. It's not like the 5 different classes in big schools and small schools. It's all the field. Everyone's in the field. You compete against everybody. So then essentially there's one champion for the whole state. And I think I have like 40 seasons coaching total. And it's never easy when, not golf, I mean various sports. All right. It's never easy when there's a coaching change. So, I'd coached the girls' golf program a while back, and, it's been 6 years. And coming back, it's never easy on the girls or any team when there's a coaching change. And it really could provide challenges for the new coach. So these girls, they worked so hard to make sure that there was a fluid transition. They had goals. They asked me, first meeting, I don't know if you girls even remember this, Coach, why do the boys win all the time? And I said, well, because, you know what, we do the little things. There are lots of little things. They don't seem that important. But you add up all those little things. If you do all those little things, then they add up, and they add up to something big. And that's certainly what the team did, especially Madison and Angelina. They did all the little things, and they learned a great lesson for life, and that golf is life. All right, and they're a true pleasure to spend those long rounds with. But 5 days in Rochester for states, it was grueling just to get there, just to qualify in league play is long. Then to go to counties is tough, and then qualify after 36 holes in counties is tough. So it's not for the weak, all right, of mind or physically. So these girls really, you talk about setting a standard. As far as work habits, they set the standard for our program. And just so proud of them, as I know the community is, you are, and their families, as we all should be.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You so much, Coach. And just quickly to mention also, I believe the boys golf team sent somebody to the States this year also.
Yes.
Yes.
Colby Barron went for the second year
Okay.
in a row.
But they've done that before,
Yes.
so this was history making. That's
This
why,
was- yes,
right.
This was groundbreaking.
Absolutely. Very good. Okay. All right, we're going to move on to our open work session. And
I
next.
think we should tell the athletes they don't have to stay for the.
Oh, yeah, athletes, you don't want to stay for this. You got much better things to do than to sit here and listen to our nonsense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They didn't even have girls' golf when I graduated.
No, huh?
No, and that was
What
only
year
like
was that?
5 years ago.
Yeah.
5 years.
Oh,
Daily
goodness.
supervisor, 5 hours for around a golf league?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, well, because I'm in the woods 3 hours looking for balls. Okay, we are up for
not
matters
scrambling.
surrounding the Zenith Building Addition Site Plan 301 East Main Street and 12 McDermott Avenue, Riverhead. That will be with Greg Bergman, and we have
We have
Marty and
Marty and
Ray.
Ray.
Come on up.
Good morning.
Oh,
Wasn't sure what time it was. How you doing?
how's your golf game, fellas?
Does it take you 5 hours to play golf?
Sometimes,
Okay.
sometimes when there's people around and keep
5
going, yeah.
reduce copies, so if we could pass them each way. One,
All right.
I don't think I need the large scale set, but these are pretty easy to read. I'll just put that away. And I also have copies of,
You just throw the elevations up in the center here. So
Yeah.
we can-
there's 3, there's 2 down that way, and there's 2 here. Yes, I got mine. Comes down. I have mine. And then these didn't copy that well on the copier because it's a photo from my phone and then a copy. But this is a street view from Main Street. The copies, like I said, aren't that great. But
Oh, in my mind. I pull my stuff out of the pocket. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Marty.
you go.
Yeah, thank you.
I go. And I can put all of this pile away. And I guess Greg, you good with that?
All right, so we've got a site plan application which is proposing to construct an addition, four-story mixed-use addition, which will connect to the previously approved Zenith building, which was approved by the town board back in July of 2023. That project approved a four-story mixed-use building at 12 McDermott Avenue. It included approximately 2,100 square feet of ground floor commercial space, as well as 9 residential apartments on the upper floors. The mix was 3 two-bedroom units and 6 one-bedroom units on that original approval. The applicant has since purchased the neighboring property, which is located on the southeast corner of East Main Street and McDermott Avenue. The address on that property is 301 East Main Street. It's a .06 acre site. This is an application which is seeking to construct a addition to that building. It will be another 4-story mixed-use building. Proposes 6 additional 2-bedroom units on the upper floors, as well as approximately 1,000 square feet of ground floor commercial space. The new building will connect on the 2nd through the 4th floors to the originally approved building. It will leave free approximately a 30-foot clear space on the ground floor. That is required for utility easements and access easements, which benefit the property owners to the east for trash removal and access to their site. So the total with the new proposed addition would bring the total development to 15 residential apartments, 9 two-bedroom units and 6 one-bedroom units with approximately 3,100 square feet of ground floor commercial space. So the project is a type 1 action, and as it involves multifamily development within the Riverhead Historic District. I do identify the involved agencies. I do just want to mention, I did note that on the new site plan, some of the original apartments that were approved under the 12 McDermott, the plan that was approved in 2023, they were not identified as affordable apartments on that original plan. They are now shown as affordable, so I think there just needs to be clarification if they're going to be seeking any type of funding, whether it's local, state, or federal. Those agencies need to be identified on the full EAF before we can commence a secret coordination. So the plan does, I believe it is 6 of those original units are now identified as affordable. In terms of pattern book compliance, so the board back in January of 2021 adopted the Urban Design Associates Downtown Riverhead Pattern Book to serve as guidelines for future development. That pattern book made a number of objective design standard recommendations for private development, among them being step backs for floors above a 3rd story. So fully understand that the original Zenith building was, contemplated and submitted long before that pattern book was adopted. We're now at a point where the pattern book's been adopted for nearly 4.5 years. I think it would be appropriate to incorporate some step backs on those upper floors. The original Zenith building, I do note that it did have, from the property line, there was about an 8-foot setback. So there was some, designing and, planning on that to sort of break up the massing and reduce the massing along McDermott Avenue. This proposed addition does have a much smaller setback to the property lines. So I think it could be a good opportunity to incorporate some of those step backs on the upper floors and help to reduce the massing. You've got the 221 East Main Street right on the opposite corner, so we just don't want to create a canyon effect along East Main Street and McDermott. I mean, I do acknowledge the frontage on East Main Street. I think it's only about 30 feet and change. But again, any opportunity to sort of incorporate a step back and, incorporate the recommendations of the pattern book would surely be welcomed. Just need some details on the lighting plan. We just want to make sure that the site is lit. We don't create any kind of dark alleyways or dark corners where, people can sort of hang out and do whatever they're going to do. So I just would like to see some updates on the lighting plan. In terms of the landscaping and streetscapes, this does present an opportunity. So on page 5 of my staff report, I did take a picture. There's a really nice brick walkway with some really nice plantings and landscaping on the west side of McDermott Avenue. This presents an opportunity to sort of mirror that landscaping and that brickwork. There is some existing brickwork that starts at East Main Street and probably goes down to the property line close to the 12 McDermott Avenue, but I think we can probably continue that and pick up some attractive landscaping along McDermott. Utilities along East Main Street, we've had every project that's come in bury utilities along the frontage of their property, both from an aesthetic point of view as well as a fire service point of view. So the utilities along East Main Street, there's one utility pole. We'd like to see those put underground. And then parking. So the parking, The property is located within the downtown Riverhead parking district. Per town code, section 301-231I, they are not required to provide on-site parking as they're located within the parking district. But I do note that the total amalgam of uses for the project, now acknowledging that the existing building was previously approved, the amalgam of uses on the total project would require 39 parking stalls per our town code parking requirements, and they're providing no parking. So I went over this with Dawn as I was preparing my report. And we did get a memo from Mr. Senlewski just citing the concerns over the loss of parking. We just spoke about it at a work session today about, people parking in their apartments if it's raining. There's no on-site parking here, and with the redevelopment of the downtown area, there's really no immediate parking in the proximate area. You've got the parking lot down on the south side by the Riverhead Brew House. There's the small parking area down by Turkaz Grill, over by the Salvation Army. But again, those are regulated in terms of time of parking during certain hours. So we've got a project that would require 39 parking stalls that's not providing any parking.
So how do we solve that?
So this is something, I've talked to Dawn, Dawn did mention this morning, this might be a time for the board to consider the PILOP. I know the PILOP's been floating around. There's revisions of that going back to, I think, 2018, 2019. So that's something that's been long considered by the board. But with the redevelopment of the downtown area as a whole, we're sort of at that critical point now where, approving more projects where they're not providing parking. We want to see these projects be successful. I did note that with the affordable apartments, any parking in a potential garage, the future structured parking garage, north of East Main Street, will not be free parking. So we want to ensure that, these projects are successful. The board needs to just consider that.
So, Mr. Senlewski, do you want to talk about parking? You're in the parking.
Well, if I could
district,
run through
yeah.
I'll run through the whole application
Sure.
in the same format real quick. Basically, the footage has changed a little bit, Greg. So what I brought in today, I'll just back up with the history. After we submitted this, we went to the Architectural Review Board, and they passed on the project without any restrictions. I said it matches what you had originally. They were good. After that, we got Greg's report. We looked at things like pattern book and other stuff. And then Monday, we had the meeting with the Historic Advisory Group. And it was
Landmark preservation.
Landmark preservation. So it was a very, very good meeting. Prior to that, after I got Greg's report, and we had talked about the pattern book and sort of that this project is sort of caught in between. So what we did is, I conferred with my client, we went back and we revised the plans. So we now do have this pattern book and the setbacks, not on McDermott setting back on the upper stories because the site is so narrow side to side. But on the Main Street side in the corner, we did all of the setbacks. We brought that to the Historic Commission. It was all a red line. And they had some additional comments, which were very good. So the meeting went very well. They gave us the green light to then follow through with meeting here and then go into public hearing and come back to them at the end to button things up. So we have applied the pattern book requirements to the project for revision. After we're done, we'll be giving Greg a full resubmission. Okay.
Can I just, because
Sure.
we did discuss this at the meeting where I had asked about the frontage on East Main Street, and you were talking about how there was going to be the kind of steps for, each
Correct.
floor of the building, and that is going to be, I believe, 8 feet in. for
Correct,
each
that is
floor.
correct.
Why would you have it this way and not flip-flopped to soften up?
Well, it
the
actually.
corner.
Yeah, if you look at the side elevation, that's a really tough rendering that with the pictures there. But if you look at the side, you see here, the step backs on the upper. So you have the step back, that area
No,
on the front.
I'm speaking about how you have these areas is kind
Correct.
of open. Why would you not put them on this side and flip-flop it so that,
Have the balconies on the other side.
it's like this is just a straight,
Yeah, it's really the way that the building lays out with the access to the floor. So if you looked at the plans, you would see the logic where you have the living side on one side and then the bedrooms on the other side, on the McDermott side. that also falls into play code-wise very, very critically, in that if we were to flip the plan, then the windows on the McDermott side for the bedrooms are required. If the neighbor were to build up to the property line, the windows that are in the living area on the east side of the building are sacrificial, so they could be closed off. So code-wise, we would not be able to do that. So when you look at the plan, it really works this way. And I think with the historic committee and us stepping back that up a level, and we even did some things, if you recall, on the sides where we started doing some breaks and setbacks, that they were very, very amenable to that. And we're now going to soften it up with some awnings also on the ground level. The big thing from McDermott is that what we did was there, as Greg had said, we're off of McDermott Avenue. We've left a setback. If we
How
were
much
to
of a
step
setback?
if we were to step the building, we would take the first floor, we'd push it right up to the property line, just like the one on the other side, and then step it back up higher. I'd rather have that open space on street level, so it's a wider street level. So it is a compromise, and it's something that we've worked very hard on, and it's really, at the point now, we know code-wise, without being able to flip the floor, is really the way it works for us. And I think historic and ARB are both good with it.
Marty, is your main entrance, would it be on Main Street or on McDermott?
The entrance is still McDermott, so.
It is, okay.
Yeah, these units will be added onto, so on each level, when you get off the stair of the elevator.
Okay.
You will then either go straight to the existing units, or make a left and go into these units. There's 2 units per floor.
Okay.
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt your presentation, but on ARB, this was all, now we're getting into this multi-colored building, which is all over Long Island, these different, so I'm just curious how that came, because at one point it was just all one color.
It is, actually, this is the original rendering that we had.
Yeah, that.
This is the same as this, but this was a nice night shot we did on the computer.
Oh, okay.
I did this in 15 minutes yesterday.
Never mind.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna be the color.
I just want to guarantee that it's going to look like
Exactly.
that,
That's
not
like
this.
this.
I know you better.
That's right.
This is the guys in the office with the computer. This is me with my coloring.
Shouldn't be doing
So,
it.
All right, that's it.
so
I want
that
to see class.
All right.
so we had addressed that with regard to the pattern book, and that's worked out well. And we will go back to them for a final. Lighting, we will obviously update the lighting plan, and with the landscaping, the street trees, you'll see when the revision, we're adding those. So those are things that we will add. As it comes to the utilities question, we're 2 things. One is we don't gain any benefit at all. We're not utilizing the utilities on Main Street. We're not touching utilities on Main Street. We have nothing to do with Main Street utilities. Our utilities are coming off of McDermott, which are already underground. And if you look at the utilities that are there, it's not possible to remove that pole. What happens is that pole has 2 risers already coming from the west. As it rises up and goes eastward, the next pole already has 2 risers, and it has more than 2 risers. It's got tons of communication that comes off of McDermott and power off of McDermott. If you look at the poles here, you can see how much they have on them. And then there's a 3rd pole that has pots on it, to increase the voltage, and that's the next pole on Main Street. So there's no way you could remove this one pole. And without, that's a major public improvement project. And we don't have any, if we were using them, if we were tapping into the electric, or we were putting more of a load on the utilities on Main Street, then we would have to deal with it because we're touching them. But we are not utilizing these utilities at all. They're off-site. And cost-wise, since the fact that it wouldn't be just removing one pole, it would be really a whole East Main Street improvement, because it'd have to probably go all the way down until the next driveway where the parking is further east. It's just not something that really could be or would be done as part of this project. It's really not feasible to do it, I think, from a cost standpoint also.
Yeah, so I own a construction company in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, up and down. There are times that I have to relocate poles. And the reason is because it has an impact on the project. For example, if the pole's in the middle of a curb cut and you can't have it there, you're required to relocate it. across the street or up and down. That's extremely expensive. That could be a deal breaker for me, to have to do all that kind of stuff. That's painful. You're probably looking at $100,000 to $200,000 just to accomplish that, when it's not, the building's not having an effect on that home.
Unlike the map and plan that you would normally do, like, let's say with the water district, which we did do here, because we're tapping into the water district and we're adding a hydrant down at the end of McDermott as part of that previous review. There is no map and plan for public utility. We're not touching that utility. It has nothing to do with us on Main Street. We understand how desirable it is, but it's not something that falls under the purview of Mr. Castronovo's development. And I think that covered everything, or, oh, you wanted to touch?
Parking.
Okay. Parking. Okay, let's see. So as far as the discussion on parking, on looking at page 6, which is the about 5 or 6 paragraphs relative to parking, there are only 2 sentences in that whole page that apply to this project. Only 2. One sentence that applies to this project: town code does not require applicant to provide on-site parking. That applies. The other thing that applies is that the chairman of the parking advisory committee is a design professional. That is true. Those 2 things apply to the project. Nothing else on this page applies to this project at all. The thing that we were talking, and also it wasn't me personally, it was our committee that provided a recommendation to yourselves as the board of the parking district. The reduction in parking that we sent you was only a concern we had for the owners between Roanoke Avenue and East Avenue, because we don't think that anybody in Riverhead, I've talked to people, none of them knew it, that you were going to eliminate all of the parking between Roanoke and East Avenue and Main Street.
That's not true.
We're not even remotely close to the truth.
Well, it's in your secret document. There's a plan for, yes, it is. There's a plan for 11 cars and 0 cars. That they were attached to that document I sent you. Those are the 2 plans that are in your secret document. There's only 2. There's 3 actually. One was diagonal. You have 3 plans in your secret document. One is 7 diagonal, one is 0, and one is 11. That's what's in your secret document. So either your secret document's wrong, okay, and you're going to redo it and then reopen it to public opinion, because in the secret document you said that the Main Street improvements already been subject for further review. That's right in your negative deck. So that's what's out there. So, and that's what we as a parking committee talked about. It has nothing to do with this project at all. We were concerned about those business owners.
Either way, I found some spots.
Yeah.
Tell them about the spots.
So anyway, as it comes to parking, you'll see in the revision we do with the cross-access easement we have. On the plan, we do gain a couple of spots, which Ray would like to have, so we do have 2 spots. And I will say this also, that the 39 parking spaces that Greg referred to does not apply to this project. This project requires 13.37 spaces, and we're providing 2, so it requires 11.37. The other spaces that we referred to are already approved. That's in the rearview mirror. That was part of the previous project, so it does not apply here. What applies here is 13 spaces, minus 2 is 11. So that's what the impact is. It's not, 39, it's 11. The other ones are already approved. So with that being the case, I think there is no parking issue unless there is any additional questions with regard to parking.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm a little slow today. Can you define that again for me, of how some of the parking's already pre-approved? We're only talking about an additional, how many parking spots? Like
13.37. So in other words, the previous project, the project of the building, the Zenith building that is currently approved, that is currently approved. And the parking, part of that 39 spaces is for that building. Actually, a majority of it is for that building.
Okay.
So that's already approved, that's done. This application.
That has no spaces.
Correct. That is previously approved. This is for.
I understand, but it has no spaces.
Correct.
So now
Correct.
you're adding on to, you're making this, they're attaching a second building to it, So expanding it.
Yeah,
Now you're asking for another project right next to it that should need 13 spaces and you have 2. Is that right?
Correct.
So now
Well,
you're
it
still
doesn't
11
need
short.
any spaces. It has an impact of 13 spaces.
Where are they parking?
You tell your
tell
tenants
us
they
where they're
don't need
parking.
parking spaces. Good luck with that.
Well, again, and we just heard this morning, Councilman Kern's concern was, there was a concern during the work session of if it's raining and somebody wants to, park in front of their apartment, like, that's not an option here. There's no parking on McDermott.
Yeah.
There's limited, time-sensitive parking stalls down along the river.
Is there loading, unloading space?
Well, we have, actually, that easement counts as a loading and unloading space because it's for both this property and the property next door. And also with the parking that we have underneath now, which you'll see, Greg, they're right off of the driveway here under the building. If you go to the floor plan sheet, then
Right,
you'll
right
see
here.
it, yeah. So we do have some parking for drop-offs and stuff like that under the building on the first floor. So as you come through here, you'd be able to turn in here, turn and come back out. So we did take that into account, and the loading is already accounted for. So with that, I mean, there's a very little impact other than, on the new part. So we don't really foresee anything that is any further concern.
But there's parking in the north lot, and when the parking
of
garage
course.
goes there, there'll be parking in the parking garage.
Correct.
Or are you
But
willing
it'll
to
be
purchase, are you willing to
paid
purchase
parking.
parking spots for the new garage?
No, why would I? Why would I pay for parking if I don't have to?
Oh, because then you could buy spots there, and then you'd have tenants would have reserves parking over there. And it would help overall with the project. and
Well, they
use
have
the
parking already.
Where?
There isn't any.
And, the resolution 2024-982 was the FEAF for downtown development that you passed, okay, on December 17th. March 18th, you passed resolution 2025-263. That was your neg deck. Both of them, in their appendix, have the final Town of Riverhead parking plan update, Riverhead Parking Plan 2020, the parking garage sizing model. That's your documents, you're the lead agency, okay? In the FEAF, it said the revitalization, the plans include the strategic plan of 2020 by Schwartz. That's the material you, as the lead agency, relied on to do the neg deck. It included the parking garage, which is to replace lost parking spaces and address future parking. Right, you guys did that already, thank you.
Which
The
is gonna
garage
be for
capacity
pay.
took that into account.
Which is gonna be for pay. The garage is for pay. It's not free.
So, what's that matter?
You're,
This
It
park,
might be a concern of your tenants.
Well,
You don't think
so.
especially if they're considered affordable units. I mean, that's
so then
an
when you
affordable
go,
tenant to go pay for
well,
parking.
so then when you go to the neg deck, which is done in the resolution 2025-263, okay, where you, the lead agency, gave this a hard look. You looked at all this information, and you were very careful about it before you made a decision to give a neg deck. And in your Part 2 FEAF, that you used to make your determination, it says 500 space parking garage to replace existing parking lost by development and meet new parking demands. So the parking is already done by you as a neg deck, or you have a problem with your neg deck that you did because you, as the parking board and the town board, have already allocated this. As far as the parking garage being paid, that's a surprise because the parking committee has been meeting with Mr. Wood,
yes.
and he is coming to you with some type of a plan that hasn't been written up yet. So now you're saying the decision's already made when you have a consultant that hasn't given you a plan yet.
Well, Mr. Sinalewski, I'm going to stop you right there. I've been liaison to the parking committee
Right.
for a year and a half now, and you know fully well this is always going to be a paid garage, a paid multi-deck.
Correct.
So there is no surprise here that this is going to be paid
No,
parking.
but you also know that the discussions included what will be the requirements for residents and employees, and that has not been determined yet.
No, what was happening was there were spaces that you know are lost already because of the playground, because of the lower deck. So you're fully aware that there is multiple spaces that aren't going to be available
Correct.
to any patrons that you, or individuals that you have, tenants you have in this. And you also know that the parking garage multi-deck is going to be something people have to pay for.
I understand that, yeah.
So I don't know
We've been
where
working
you
on it
think.
for a year, I know.
And what I'm getting to is, this is always going to be a paid parking system. And now you're acting as though you're surprised. It's
No,
not
no,
going to
no,
be
I'm not
paid
surprised at
parking.
that at all.
I thought I heard that.
No,
I
what
thought
I'm
I just
saying
heard
is,
that.
How much
we-
is the parking?
We have had a
We're
discussion.
going in different, guys, we're going in different directions.
Right, yeah.
Guys, how much is the parking?
What's a parking?
I just want to go back to the secret issues, because the 2020 parking study that was included in the secret review and the potential plan for Main Street, the parking study included the PILOP, which would require payment in lieu of parking for residential structures, so that's something that the board's considering, number one. Number two, if the plan that was submitted, which was what was completed at the time, talked about eliminating additional parking stalls on Main Street, what we're doing now is less than that, so we were looking at a worst-case scenario. So there's no change, it's actually less impactful, so there would be no need to change any of the secret
Okay,
review.
that's-
Just making sure that we're clear about that.
Okay, we're not here to talk parking.
Well, no, but you brought it up, and I think
You know.
what Denise is talking about is, as much as what the Parking District Committee is talking about is not included in this project, the project that proposes zero parking in an area of town, which everyone acknowledges is an area that needs parking and is short of parking. In fact, one of the other Parking District Committee members, Connie Losandro, has talked repeatedly and been very concerned through her role in the Chamber of Commerce and as a Parking District Committee member about this exact area and the person that she works for that has the brewery. And so, while other people weren't required under the parking district rules to provide parking, the people that have built buildings have provided parking for their tenants. And so, the town board's working hard to make sure that parking isn't an issue. It's been an ongoing thing. We've done multiple studies, and I think, we're making very good progress, but clearly, the addition of something that needs quite a few stalls and the need for it to be successful. I mean, I think that's the reason other developers provided parking in their own buildings, because to rent an apartment,
Right.
you don't want to be walking a long distance. So
Yeah.
it's just a practical concern, really, I think, that the board is
Yeah,
expressing.
absolutely.
Was it
Yeah.
a requirement for the apartment, Dave Gallo's apartment across the street on McDermott? Were they required to have a parking garage?
No.
No, but
And
they
the
do.
parking
They
district
just
also.
did it.
They just did it.
And the new Heatherwood building also has 150 plus.
I mean, the
stalls.
geometry of this site being very small, it's only 30 feet in one direction, doesn't really allow us the luxury of having parking. Mr. Castronova is well aware of that. Again, when it comes to parking, we're relying on the document that was prepared by the town with a neg deck that says that you have addressed the parking, you gave it a hard look, and that other impacts, 13F, under the negative declaration, part 2 of your environmental review that you did, says there will be a 500 space parking garage to replace existing parking lots lost by development and meet new parking demands. Thank you, that they will have to walk, that'll,
Yeah,
Mr.
they'll either
Castro
walk
was
or
aware of
buy a
that.
spot.
He-
The people buy spots all the time. There's parking in many, many towns that people have to buy spots.
Right.
I thought that there was conversations originally when the discussion was about the parking garage that the developers were going to be asked to pay for parking within the garage for their tenants.
Yes.
It's an option for a
Yeah,
developer.
what about
And
the
the
monthly
pile-up.
fees that a lot of people do when they park their cars?
We-
People
we-
take- in a lot of places.
As an aside, we had a parking meeting scheduled today, which a number of members can't make it, so that was postponed. I think it's now going to be on the 11th,
July 11th.
July 11th, yeah.
You couldn't make it.
Yeah, myself and Connie, right, which is half of the committee. So we'll certainly take that up then, because and that's not for discussion here, but we do have the requirement, not the requirement, we do fall under the requirements of the code with regard to the not requiring on-site parking. There is going to be sufficient parking downtown as per your secret review and approval. Mr. Castronova is well aware of the proximity to his property of that and has no concern and is moving forward. And, we're good with that. The other matters are matters for another day.
I just don't want you to build the building and then not have tenants because there's no parking. That's my concern.
You know what, when I'm done with this, you'll see, it's gonna be a class act. I'm not gonna just have people that don't, I'm gonna make arrangements for them some way, somehow. If the lot has, like many other towns, monthly, they'll understand that in their lease, or if they wanna walk, they'll understand that as well. I remember the first round, when I was ready to do the first one, I had a lot of people in line. Actually, I put out a little lottery on my own, and out of those spaces, I must have had about 500 applicants. But then when I put a hold on that, I just finished an apartment in Baldwin, apartment building in Baldwin, and they do have parking with different places that people buy. And out of 33 apartments, they had 6,000 applicants. That's a shortage of this. That's why I want to try to help the community and see how I can get for these, people that need apartments.
So the question then comes is, would you contribute to purchase parking in the garage? Like by spaces,
So
you
it's
would
gonna-
allocate
Like
11
own
spaces
own
in the
the spots,
garage.
or it'll be like a monthly
If
thing.
your spots, but it contributes to the overall cost of the garage. So you pay for 11 parking spaces that's needed for this project, and you contribute to the cost of the parking garage.
Does anyone know what that value might be?
So-
So I want to help this town. It's a beautiful corner there. I want to help things look better. I want that little eyesore on the corner that has to go away. Anyone know a value so I could see if it
have any
can
idea?
support the
The
business
payment in
plan?
lieu of parking that was recommended in the 2020 study, and again in the 2022 update to that study, was going to require, and then this is now 4 or 5 years ago, 12,000 a space per the town code, whatever your residential units would generate, not the commercial, just residential.
That's
Yeah,
5
another
years
thing
ago.
to keep in mind here is I had done a sketch a while ago, it's nothing to do with this application. I had done a sketch where we could get 64 units on the Science Center site, and I know that was slated for mixed-use development under this seeker review. That's no longer happening, so that's up to 64 units that are not gonna be built downtown, because that was gonna be a mixed-use project to go out to somebody, and of course, if they were to do that, they put residential in there, and they could easily get 64 apartments on 4 floors. So, that would have been development that's now not gonna happen, because that changed after the seeker review was done. So, you have that, and I don't know where things stand with the hotel development. I don't know if that application, I would have thought it would be shovel-ready already, I don't know where it is, but that would require 80 spaces. And are they gonna have to buy spaces in the garage also? So there's a lot of things that have to be answered yet. And right now, we have the lion's share of 9 units of this application already approved, and we're looking to add 6 more. That's what we're here for, and that's what we wanna keep focused on, and we meet all of the criteria as of right now, and we would like to proceed forward.
So where are the 11 parking spaces? That's what we're asking. So,
What about
you keep wanting
handicap
to steer in a different
accessibility?
direction, but you're still not solving
Like
the
if you have
overall
somebody
problem.
that requires a handicap sticker for their car, where are they going to park?
There's going to be spots somewhere, isn't there?
There are handicap spots now. There are handicap spots in the parking lot in front of, down by the brewery. There are spots there will be spots in the public garage also.
See,
They
that's
don't
a-
have to be on site, they have to just be accessible.
But the brewery itself struggles with parking, so now
Yeah.
you're gonna put in there, now you're putting residences here, you're gonna hamper the brewery's ability to function in their retail space.
I mean, I think, Ray, you're well aware of that issue with regard to the parking that's provided and the parking that will be there available to your project. And that's really a decision, that's really a decision.
What's the decision?
Well, in terms of the proximity of the parking.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
the way,
they
you
can
know,
walk.
your comfort level in having 15 apartments with the proximity of the parking.
So
being
when
where
you
it is.
put in, so you need 11 parking spaces, here's my thought, your 11 people go and park in front of the brewery, and they're parked there all day long, and now when other people are trying to access the brewery, to go in there to go for lunch or for dinner, and there's no parking, they drive on past the brewery and they go someplace else. So these are the things that we have to consider, how it affects all of the retail spaces around you. So that would be a concern. I can tell you right now, it's gonna be like everybody's, parks in Insatiable Eats parking lot. So you want to, whether you're going to Insatiable Eats, that's what it's for, but then people park there and they go to Cliffs across the street, the Rendezvous, they go to Mexicandy, they start, and then they start wandering Main Street, and Insatiable Eats is like their personal, their private parking lot is becoming a commercial parking lot. So those are the things. So are you going to try to park your 11, cars over in Insatiable Eats, and then that's another business that's going to struggle with that? Like, these are the things that we have to look at from our
Yeah, but
perspective.
it's not allowed over there,
That's a
right?
private lot, yeah.
But
Well,
it doesn't stop them from going in.
No,
there
Town
and
used
doing
to
it.
lease
That's what I'm
spaces
saying.
from them,
Yeah.
from their parking lot
Have to go
years
find where
ago.
there's a spot.
Also, I would say to that, Councilman, is that doing community development, they're doing a tremendous job. Downtown's, everybody's looking for this to be successful. There have been ongoing discussions. We're really we aren't canceling our meeting. That's why this month parking, because we're still going to have next month's meeting. There's a lot happening and a lot of discussion going on with Kevin Wood and all of these plans for parking downtown, including the side streets and residents and everything else. So there's still a lot of ground that has to be covered parking-wise. But the first part of your statement is really not accurate in terms of you need parking, making it sound as if you need it on site, okay? He doesn't need any parking on site. The parking is provided as part of the parking district. And I know where you're coming from. There's proximity, and those are all the things that we're reviewing as the parking committee and Dawn and everybody, and Mr. Wood. Those are all a work in progress. We've been working on very hard, I think, correct.
So how would you do?
Not on new
sorry.
buildings without parking. We've been working on the garage, we've been working on that, we've been working on where you put the other spaces, where you put, how big the garage is gonna be, but it hasn't been considering, in fact, you've been complaining about the loss of parking back behind your building. And I'm just concerned that you've been mentioning that all along, and honestly, this is the first time I'm hearing about your apartment complex without parking. It just seems contradictory to what you've been talking about.
So you can't put parking. So what do you do? How do you solve it? You can't put it there.
Could you consider
buy spaces.
along the street, like bumping the curb in and making a few spaces along McDermott?
You know what it is? It's all a matter of cost. If it works in here and it works with the income to debt, then it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm good at math. I tell everyone I'm never going to win a spelling bee, but I can definitely put shapes together in math. So if there's something that I could do to help some way and it works, I could, but that's, it's a cost to do all this stuff. And then the return on this over the years, there's an expense on that as well. And I'm willing to bear it to make it, make a nice place.
It also becomes a cost to the other businesses when there's
Yeah.
a lack of parking or their parking being used to offset lack of parking for, an apartment complex.
Yeah.
We have to consider, the whole picture here.
If I could, I would. If I can't, so now I'll fall back down onto the town. What are you guys doing to make sure that this doesn't affect others moving forward? And
See, I'd be more comfortable with this if we're building a town garage, and if you said, I would like to purchase and reserve 12 spaces that will be by permitted, that's gonna take those 12 cars that need to park in your property, and you're gonna turn around and compensate the town to help build that garage, and whatever, if it ends up being 15,000 a space or so now, and you're putting up 150, $165,000 towards a parking garage. Now you have dedicated 11 parking spaces.
it's 15,000
If I was renting a place from your building, I would know that's my spot. I'm going there. I don't have to pay. I got it. It's there all the time, and I don't have to do circles around the village. But I'm also not impeding the other businesses.
Yeah, so $15,000 spots, so that's 100 and...
I've just did a rough estimate. It was 13,000 a couple
I
years
think
ago.
it was
12.
12.5.
Yeah, I'll round
That was
it
a
up.
couple years ago.
That was 5 years ago.
I'll say 10. So let's just say 10,000. We'll figure out what the real number is. So that'll be $110,000 for 11 spots, right? So this is just for math that I want to see, because I solve problems all the time. Is this going to be an upfront cost, or will you be willing to take this money over a period of time? That's a big number for me to put in my performance.
You'd have to-
That should help, but
Sure,
that-
it's something in which you would have to work into an agreement,
And then the pilot was recommended, and everybody agreed that that was a good way to sort of handle the people who wouldn't be able to provide parking on site, that they would pay into the parking
Right.
district, and for the residential tenants, not the commercial tenants.
There's a lot of moving parts here. So you're talking about an application, we're talking about 11 spaces. When the secret that was done, says that you're doing a garage and it's gonna accommodate parking, whether it's paid or whatever it is, the parking will be there, okay? So right now, as far as this application is concerned, there's no requirement to do that, and it could be something that's negotiated, obviously, but it's not something that could be negotiated as a condition of us gaining approval. We have an as-of-right approval right now. So, and remember one thing, that $15,000 a spot, that's $1.2 million for the hotel. If they're gonna pay $15,000 a spot, do they have that in their budget? The same way he has it in his budget. The math works the same for both projects. Are they gonna pay 1.2 million?
Well, there's going to be parking underneath the hotel as well, so he is
Yeah,
providing
$1.2
parking.
million,
So he has
that's
a
a
parking
good number,
garage.
you know, and 150
But he's
here.
designing it so that he has parking underneath the
But
hotel.
those decisions have to be made because you got a hotel, you got apartments, you got all these things happening.
No, I agree with Ken though, but the hotel has its own parking. This
Oh,
doesn't.
has, for 80?
It has parking for the condos.
Has parking
for the
condos up
People
top.
using the room.
But he'll be paying for
They're gonna be
Yes.
paying for parking in the parking.
$1.2 million?
Cost of doing
According to
business.
this math, you know.
Cost
I
of
mean,
doing
he does
business.
math, he knows the deal, so.
The question is that over time, which is a good question.
That's a big difference, right?
Yeah,
It's-
you know,
it makes
it
it
really is.
a
And
little
you're gonna
easier.
have, no matter what happens, I mean, personally, I think the parking garage is undersized, but when you start getting people in the Science Center, the Suffolk Theater, et cetera, it's gonna blow out no matter what happens when you pull up, no matter where you live, right? You may have to, a couple of times on a Friday night, have to park over here.
We talked about this, and I can't remember if it was
You know,
Kevin,
it's
we talked
not-
about, people are, you go to Home Depot, you park half a mile away, you walk into the Home Depot, you don't worry about walking. People are too adjusted to walking, 15 steps from where they want to go. The objective of the entire walkability piece of the downtown revitalization is that park once, and it's convenient, safe, and comfortable to walk because of lighting and sidewalks and signage and all of those things. And so that's the goal at the end of the day. So for your tenants to park far away should be all okay. The question is the pileup, because the original parking district was never envisioned large residences, large numbers of residences, right, when it was created. And so it was really for just business. So the businesses didn't need to park and the town would handle the parking, and that's how it went. But when the town changed the zoning in 2004 and allowed the 5-story buildings, the mixed-use buildings in the downtown area, which was part of the comp plan, and it's been, a successful endeavor since then, and we do need the housing, as you say, the need for parking changed, and so that's when the pileup was introduced to cover the cost of the residential tenants, which, and there should be a nice dovetail there because the business tenants would work during the day and the residential tenants would be in the evening. And the way the parking, our parking consultant is discussing and generally accepted parking principles is the closer parking to the businesses is the short-term parking. And so, if the residents want to park there during the day, they're going to have to park far away. And if they want to park overnight, maybe from, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., they would be able to get closer to the building. There would be less regulation. But I guess it's still the practical reality of this particular location in the context of parking, because this has been a little bit of a bottleneck in that area, and there's been some concern. So those are the things I think the board's gotta to think about. And for sure, replacing the parking that's being removed with new public spaces with the 504 unit garage, which will be expandable in the future, is adequate. And the town board just purchased this building and added another 260 plus spaces to the parking inventory. And so, the public parking inventory. And so those are all positives in the direction. They're just not proximate to where your building is, that's all.
I mean, my job for my client, he pays me to design him a project and play by the rules. So you design the building that meets the zoning, meets all the codes, meets all the requirements. We're playing by the rules. We would like to get this approved because he has to wait for the second part of the approval to close his funding that he has in order to build a building. So the longer this delays, the longer it hurts him. These are all, they're not gonna change with this building being here, with all of the parking discussions we're gonna be having in the future with the parking committee and everybody else. It's not gonna change. So we're playing by the rules. We'd like to continue with this for public hearing, get a resolution to get approval, as all those things will, again, play out in the
Okay,
future,
so this is as of right now?
as of right.
All right, but, okay, out of the circle of as of right, I said, I work with everybody. I try to make things and I solve problems with solutions. If there are things that develop in the future, I'm open to listening, to make sure. But I just want to move forward with this as of right, and I could figure certain things out as we move forward.
I think it's a great project. I thought it was when I saw it pre-planning, so I'm good with it. I mean, we can speculate on parking till we're, blue in the face or drop dead from it. You know, I mean, there's gonna be parking. We know it's coming,
We
so,
want to create parking.
yeah, so I
That's the
don't see
idea.
the problem.
When I grew up, if I was able to park my car 4 blocks away, I was happy.
But that's not Riverhead.
No, exactly.
Same thing in the city. If
But
you're a
walking
half mile
back
from where you
there,
want to be, you're happy. But
Yeah.
this isn't the city.
No, I understand, but the
You're gonna have
parking,
people that live in, people come to, theater or a restaurant or whatever. I mean, they're gonna have to park where they park.
yeah, and as Dawn said, if there was a place that I could use and make a few more spots somewhere, I own a construction company. I'm doing work around in Riverhead, Quag here, there. I know excavators, Terry Excavating, and all, they work with me. If there's a little area that you want to see a couple of spots and some grass go away, Marty, you know me. I figure things out.
Why don't you cut this whole thing in half and go up like 12 stories, and then you can put all the parking right on McDermott. Just make it look like a big tower. Oh, we're not allowed to do that, but I'm sorry.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Got it. All right, next up, we have matters surrounding battery energy storage system, 221 Scott Avenue, Calverton, with Matt Charters. And a very patient group of people that have been here all day.
Everybody file in. Wherever you want.
Do you have any chairs? Do you have a chair? Do you have a chair from over there?
Yeah, we just read them.
Just made it?
Yes.
How are you today?
Good, so.
Thank you for waiting.
Need a bigger table.
I'm gonna get yelled at.
You never know.
Okay. Allison, if you want to introduce everybody for the record, and then I'll get started on my staff report.
Sure.
That way.
Good morning / afternoon, supervisor and board. Allison Scolfani with Weber Law Group, Graham Weber with Weber Law Group, Austin Schwer with
Sundial
Sundial.
Energy.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
gonna say, and King Capital.
Nick Petrakis, ESR.
I was gonna say, I just need the last name again, okay. And
Joe
Joe.
Fusillo with Labella.
for Labella.
So Joe's our civil engineer,
Yes.
right? Nick is our safety,
Fire safety.
Right, yes.
right? So
emergency safety.
he's our safety consultant. Austin's the CEO of the company. We're lawyers.
Okay. Everybody knows me, Matt Charter, senior planner for the town of Riverhead.
Yeah.
This is a site plan and special permit application for a Tier 2 battery energy storage system. Second application of this type that the town board has seen. If you guys recall, we've already reviewed a much larger application on Edwards Avenue. This is significantly smaller at 5 megawatts, located in EPCAL. I did distribute a staff report to you guys all a couple weeks ago. This did get updated earlier this week, which I think you all got a copy of. Understanding where this is in EPCAL, I will take advantage of the camera. So this is what I call the large building in EPCAL, smaller building here next to it this is at 221 Scott Avenue. So right in this general vicinity here where my finger is, you can barely see it, that's where this facility is going to be. It's in a 1,300 square foot area, so in the context of the entire piece of property, it is pretty small. So as I said, this is for Bess. It's within the 7.45 acre parcel, which is lot 19 within the Calverton Camelot 2 subdivision at EPCAL PIP zoning use district at 221 Scott Avenue. The property already has an existing industrial warehouse on it and some outdoor storage. This really has no impact with it. Situated all the way in this is the southwest portion of the property. There is a paved, I'll call it a roadway, it's not a town road, it's on private property. And then if the board recalls, the Calverton Satellite Earth Station project, just for context, is right about here on the next property, which wraps around it.
Now, if I read correct, this is in the Manorville Fire District?
Manorville Fire District, it's been referred. We haven't gotten comments back from Manorville yet. We do have a full application that complies largely with our battery energy storage code, which it provides a very nice punch list for reviewing this application. So to the most regard, this does comply. In regard to SECRA, I apologize. So it says there's actually two SECRA sections on your report. This is an unlisted action. We did not coordinate on this application just because of the size and scale. There's not anticipated to be a huge environmental impact from this project, just the nature of the use. So we're choosing, my recommendation is not coordinated review. In terms of the battery code, as I said, largely complies. If you flip through to page 5, they're not providing any landscape, which is a code requirement. Similarly to the Satellite Earth Station, this is in the middle of an approved industrial park where there's heavy industrial uses and on a portion of the property where you can't really see this application. The nearest road is Scott Avenue, which is all the way to the north. It wraps around. So it's going to look very small from that publicly, viewable area. The applicant will have to request a waiver from the town board for that landscaping requirement, and it's the board's purview whether or not you want to grant that waiver. Moving on, some other issues that we have. We just need more information, I believe, on the elevations for the batteries storage containers themselves. Indicates that there's going to be a 10-foot fence around the facility, which exceeds the height limit by code. We're at 7 feet, so that'll have to be revised down.
Yeah, we'll stick with 7 feet.
7.
Yep, so we'll be at 7 in compliance.
Okay. We're also asking for a noise study, just something we're asking for on all these applications, which I believe the applicant is already in process on. Moving towards the referral portion of this, we did get correspondence back from SHPO, just because this is in an archaeological sensitive area. They're not anticipating any impacts to any historic or archaeological resources in the area. We got no comments back from the town engineer. He didn't have any based on the size and scope of the project. This did go before the planning commission on June 4th, which approved with comments, typical comments that we're receiving on all these applications, just to ensure it's compliant with our standards, that it's meeting the standards of the draft fire code changes, which, as we all know, they haven't been made yet, but this does comply with what the changes will be. Consulting engineer, I'm still waiting on comments from Vinny. The fire marshal did note the hazmat nature of this installation, and that we currently are looking to start a hazmat team, and that the local fire district will need training, as I mentioned before. Nothing from Manorville yet. This has also been referred to New York State DEC because this is in tiger salamander jurisdictions potentially within 1,000 feet of a breeding pond. Just so the board understands where that is, generally is well to the west on the western side of the eastern wholesale fence. So if a tiger salamander made it to this property, from there I'd be very impressed. It'd be probably the world's strongest and largest tiger salamander, but those are the jurisdictional limits put in by the DEC. So before taking an action on this in terms of SECRA or scheduling a public hearing, just like to get an all clear as to procedure on what they want to do.
Well, they could plug their electric cars in when they get there.
It's way over here. They'd have to go through eastern wholesale fence, across
That's
the
where
railroad.
they get the mile and a half.
Yeah, across the railroad tracks, through a fence, across the road to here.
I just want to say a couple of quick things. We brought our whole team here. Austin actually
Yeah.
flew in from Minneapolis. We took an overnight flight to get here, just to be here, to answer any questions you have. And again, a civil engineer and our safety coordinator. Matt's 100% right. This is a great checklist. I mean, the code is very clear as to what we need to do to comply. In the areas that we don't comply, such as plantings, we've talked about that. If that's something the town board wants, we could certainly work on a way to try to get some plantings around the site or the waiver. But we will do the noise study. We're going to change the fence to the conforming height. So just trying to make sure that we leave nothing open regarding the special permit criteria.
And I did reach out to Manorville Fire Department,
Yes.
talked to Chris Steele, and we're gonna have a conversation and make sure they're comfortable with everything.
Probably do a meeting with them.
A generic question about, the best systems. Are they requiring on the platform, you mentioned the platform, what's the height requirement on, is there a standard or not?
Like for the concrete pad?
Yeah.
Typically like under a foot, certainly.
Because
6
I
inches or so. I mean, I would think
always
of a
wondered
standard.
about water, if there was a flood, but I would guess the container itself also has some depth before any water would get into the container.
Yeah, as far as water intrusion, they're designed for their environment, so they're pretty resilient against water getting into the enclosure. But yeah, if you're installing within a flood zone, you'd want to make sure that it's still elevated above a flood zone because you don't want standing water
Yeah, I mean,
around
just
it.
now, and for your own investment into this, right?
Mhm.
So absolutely.
Yep.
So I have some questions. So, from what I understand, PSEG and LIPER do not opt into the VDER, so, which makes a lot of these projects not financially viable. And so I'm just curious on you proceeding with this project. How do you, I'm not asking for your personal finances, and I know that's not, but it just leads up to my secondary questions of, if a project is not financially viable and you continue with this, we bonding full coverage to dismantle this project, and if it has to be,
It's
dismantled.
required by code in the decommissioning plan that they have full restoration to however it was proceeding the development.
Most of the projects, have been backing out on these projects, so what makes yours different?
So I think a few things. So this project will participate in the VEDER program, but it will not, PSEG has not opted into the retail storage program, which is allocating state funds to essentially buy down construction costs. So we feel like this is a very financeable project. Obviously our goal is to operate it for the 25 years that we have site control for. And we are not reliant on the retail storage program incentive from NYSERDA. So we are just participating in the VEDER program through PSEG.
You have your signed agreement with them already?
We do, correct. Yeah, we've already gone through the process with PSEG and have a signed interconnection agreement with them.
And then, so it becomes fully bonded, and then what if NYSERDA comes out with any other additional between date of issuing a building permit to date of essentially a CO or completion of the project, if they make any changes, during that duration of time towards upgrades to fire protection and suppression and so forth, how do we address them? Does it apply on the ongoing basis, like so?
Until it's built, it's going to have to comply with whatever code is out there, and as of now, it's complying with what I believe will be the future fire code, with the draft that's already made it through.
Yeah, 'cause they haven't
the second
approved,
round.
they outlined,
Yeah,
and you're looking at that outline.
Right, the publicly available draft, this complies with.
It's already compliant.
Okay. And ESRG works with the governor's workforce, the safety task force. So what has been publicly released is in the very foreseeable future what is going to be required for fire safety. They've done a significant amount of work and legwork into that just to make sure that these systems are safe. So I don't really see anything that's going to be major that's going to be anything different from what's being proposed for this site plan.
I always ask every best developer. The Suffolk County Fire Academy does offer classes and so forth, and they do have certain programs. But I'd like to know whether or not you would financially be invested to, like, Manorville Fire Department towards doing hiring trainers and doing on-site training at this particular facility and site, that. So are you willing to invest in the local fire department to outside of the fire academy's training, to provide training for them and provide services so that they have a better understanding and perhaps training on site?
Yeah, so Allison mentioned, we do have Nick here, who is willing to coordinate a training discussion, do an on-site meeting with the fire department. We can walk through all of that. I believe also as part of the new fire codes, there's going to be recurring training through that. So yeah, we will be in regular communication.
It's a requirement of the emergency response plan. So not only developing the emergency response plan with input from the local fire department, but the initial training, what we call the familiarization drill, and like Austin mentioned, regular recurring training, just to make sure we can cover turnaround as well in the department.
So now our solar project on the landfill made certain requests. You know, the Riverhead Fire Department made certain requests of them, what was necessary, you know, to give their blessing on the project, which I just want to make sure Manorville, as we all know, has not responded. But I think before, you know, getting a, you know, dropping a gavel and giving a seal of approval forward, we really need to have insight from Manorville Fire Department towards, do they have the proper equipment and necessary?
We have been asking at the town level too, we just haven't gotten it back yet.
And we've committed to doing some sort of discussion meeting with them before we come to the public hearing, in order to get on the same page with them. So we'll have that information for you for the public hearing.
Yeah, I spoke with Chris Steele. I'm going to be sending him over some documentation, and then we're going to have a meeting after that.
Ken, like you were talking about, like the blankets, the certain type of blankets that they need, and the cost of those, and would you be paying for those blankets?
Like fire blankets?
Those particular type that you need on these systems?
There's a lot of work that's being done right now with fire blankets. They've been tested and tried for electric vehicles. There's also been some information released from the UL Fire Safety Research Institute about the complexities of using fire blankets and some of the downsides of using fire blankets. For this sort of technology for stationary energy storage systems, as an emergency responder during training, we do not recommend using any sort of fire blanket, which would require the fire department to get there closely and sort of implement this blanket on top of the equipment. It's got a tremendous amount of fire protection features already built into the box that we don't want to interfere with, especially with something what we call explosion protection, really important fire safety system that we rely on, and it's been tested and validated for these systems. The emergency response procedures are very defensive for the fire department. Stage, manage the incident, use monitoring if needed to just get a sense of what's going on, severely limit and restrict the amount of water to be used, not aggressively, only defensively if only necessary. A lot of these go into the procedures with our emergency response. We don't foresee any need for any special equipment. If the Manorville Fire Department needs access to some of the typical things that we talk about, like 4 or 5 gas meters, it's typically an outfit that they already are familiar with or something that they're already utilizing. So special equipment, I don't really foresee anything, but we are definitely willing to work with the fire department to support them with anything that they think that they would need to be able to be well outfitted to respond to an incident. Just where I'm coming from with our ERPs, it's usually the most important tool for them to have at their disposal is the emergency response plan and familiarity with it, because there are some very unique things that they need to know for stationary energy storage systems.
Yeah, I think what Nick's saying is you don't want the fire department close enough to have to actually touch and put it.
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just know with the other system, they were looking for those
Yeah,
blankets.
I think, and the town code is now is what we're looking for, is that when those items are utilized, that there'll be an expected reimbursement towards them. So that's what our town code is saying, so that if it's necessary to deploy them, that you're gonna be responsible to cover the cost of them, to replace them.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's a really
There's
critical.
such a high cost to them.
Right.
Yeah, that's gonna be town code.
Anything else? So no immediate action until we hear from the DEC. I don't know if the board has more questions, but that should be an easy open and close question once we get it answered.
The DEC.
DEC,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll reach out to you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if you're going ahead, that you're planning on developing and fully completing the project, and this is not, you know, something in which you're monitoring what the state changes are going to be, and there are some coming down the pipe right now from the federal level as well, that this is not something that's going to be half into and then decided that it's a no-go, and
No,
and
not at
we're
all.
sitting here
Correct,
looking at
yeah.
a half-developed.
You just take this project, right?
Financially, things are changing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
No risk there.
So they bond everything up front before they begin, right?
As a condition of approval, there's a decommissioning plan with a decommissioning bond for full restoration.
And they also Sundown is also committed because they've already put their contracts in place with PSEG before we even get to this stage. So,
A lot happens in the foreground, I guess, with the utility provider before they even make it to the town line.
yeah.
Everybody's whispering. Nobody's gonna pick up these phones. You know what you're gonna know.
It's a recurring problem.
Sounds good.
All right?
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
And while I have a captive audience, if the board doesn't mind, I've been diligently waiting for planning commission comments on the cannabis amendments that were heard at the public hearing last month. So that's the
Oh, I
amendment.
thought,
So we had a public hearing on June 3rd. Those were the changes to include business CR and to codify the state process, which we follow locally already. It's just not explicit in the code.
sorry about that.
I did get those back yesterday. So if the board's okay, I'd like to move that forward to a notice of adoption because I think it's important that we get it in the code so everybody understands.
I'm fine with it. I'm sorry I didn't read
No, that's
I
okay.
did read it.
No, I didn't send it. I'm going to send it out to you today. I was actually working on it while you guys were in exec.
The work
I
session.
prefer to keep you anxiously waiting.
Yes. But if the board's okay, I'll add it and I'll circulate.
So
And then if
disregard
anyone
the
has
prior.
questions on,
That's the number we need to use.
is it still the same number, Devin? Resolution 13, Calverton Satellite Earth Station?
I don't know, everything got
Sorry,
renumbered.
reprinted, yeah. I did.
Yes,
12.
it's 12, I'm sorry, it's 12 now.
That's fine. If the board has any questions about that, once we get to it, I can speak.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the board's getting an updated copy of the resolution packet. This is reflective of what was intended to be circulated last night. And there was a glitch with the clerk's running minute track. And that is, what you have now is the version that's on the website for the public to view, and that's what we're going to read from today. Okay, so if everybody's ready, we'll get right to it. It's a short list of resolutions today. Resolution number 1. Water District Capital Project number 82508, budget adoption for Leica Cauliflower Square. Number 2, appoints public safety dispatchers to the police department.
All right.
We are finally moving forward, and the chief feels that we are going to be at full tilt soon.
We have
This 5 on the way.
some good candidates coming
Yeah.
on.
Really
This is great.
great.
Number 3, appoints seasonal park attendant to the recreation department. Number 4, appoints seasonal recreation aide to the recreation department. Number 5, ratifies the appointment of a seasonal recreation aide to the recreation department. Number 6, ratifies the appointment of a call-in chaperone to the recreation department. Number 7, accepts the retirement of a water treatment plant operator 2B. Number 8, authorizes the chief of police to execute an agreement with Riverhead Community Awareness Program, Inc. Number 9, authorizes the supervisor to execute an agreement authorizing the town to accept funds from the Suffolk County Office for the Aging to supplement the town's shopping assistance program for the elderly 2025. Number 10, authorize the supervisor to sign license agreement with Manufacturers and Traders Trust Company for an automated teller machine ATM in the lobby of Riverhead Justice Court. This is to replace the one that's there that doesn't work anymore. Number 11, acceptance of $1,400,000 New York State ESD CFA grant for Town Square Riverfront Amphitheater. Number 12, grants special permit, preliminary and final site plan approval for the site plan and special permit applications entitled Calverton Satellite Earth Station, 317-391 Berman Boulevard, Calverton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 600-135.2-1-16. Number 13, authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for Ford Auto Parts. Number 14, authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for auto parts. Number 15, authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for truck parts. Number 16, authorizes the town clerk to publish and post for request for proposals number 2 for the sale of 214 Griffin Avenue. They're going to try to cast a wider net this time around and publish it in a couple of additional newspapers. Number 17, awards bid for corrosion control chemical PO4. Number 18, approves fireworks application for Riverhead BIDMA, Alive on 25, 7/18/25. I'm told we have to make a couple of adjustments to this resolution. So the first is in the heading.
it should read, approves fireworks application for Live on 25/7/18/25. The first whereas, rather than fireworks display at Grangebell Park, it should read along the river in Riverhead, because the fireworks are going to be shut off from a barge this year. The start time for the fireworks, it reads 9:30, it should be 9 p.m. And the rain date, rather than July 19, it should read August 22nd. And again, the same time for the proposed rain date if needed, 9 p.m., not 9:30. So all those changes will be adjusted and reflected in the resolution packet that'll be distributed and put on the website for the public tomorrow at the end of the day. And then in the now therefore be it resolved, there is a reference to the Riverhead Raceway. That, of course, has to come out. So a couple of adjustments will be made there. That'll get cleaned up. Okay. Number 19, approves fireworks application for Jamesport Fire Department, 7/19/25. Number 20, pays the bills. Number 21, approves Riverhead Beach Advisory Committee recommendation and request for live music at South Jamesport Beach. Number 22, ratifies authorization for the Community Development Department to apply for a grant. And that's it.
Okay, that concludes our open session today. In a moment, I'm going to close it, and we're going to go into executive session to discuss matters surrounding possible license agreement with the Chamber of Commerce and Business Improvement District for real property with Howard, matters surrounding possible license agreement for real property with Howard and Coyne, and matter under litigation, matters surrounding potential litigation between the town of Riverhead and New York State, and that's with Howard. So can I have a motion to, before I do that, I know I've got a couple announcements. First of all, congratulations to the class of 2025, Riverhead High School. They will be graduating tomorrow, June 27th. So best of luck to all our Riverhead High School Blue Wave seniors, and moving on to your next part of your life. Good luck to you, and take some civil service tests too. If you're not thinking about college, jump on some civil service tests. There's always openings and good salaries and benefits, and so not college isn't for everybody, but that's another option. And Ken, the VFW.
VFW here has created a memorial garden. So they're going to have a dedication this Saturday. I believe it's at 12 noon. So they've run a lot of work around the VFW, and it's a great opportunity for residents to come down, veterans or not, to support our veterans of foreign war and their all they do, not just their former sacrifices in which they made, but just they have a lot of great community events. You know, they run the Memorial Day Parade and other events in town and do a lot for the community. So they really made an effort to beautify their back lawns and created a memorial garden, which looks really nice. So please come down and support them.
What time is that?
12 noon on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to close open session and go into executive session?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we are closed. We're going to go into executive session. Thank you, everybody.